Folks, I got an amazing opportunity today. You guys are going to really enjoy this one. I've been looking forward to this for a while. Today, we're joined by none other than Lawrence Gowan from the legendary band Styx. Mr. Gowan, I appreciate you taking your time to hang out with us today. Welcome to the show.
My pleasure, Michael. I'm very proud to say that the hotel bed here is actually made. I didn't actually have to kind of rough it together this time, so it's almost presentable. So how you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing really great. I know we have sort of limited time, so we'll get right into it. You guys are currently on tour with REO Speedwagon and Loverboy. You guys are
Yeah,
going to be playing locally here on the 17th of August at the
yeah.
Saratoga Performing Arts Center. Super psyched, looking forward to that show. I can't wait. Um, so let's get right into it. I want to talk about you for a couple minutes. How did you first get into music? When did it
Into
first
music,
start?
sure. Well, and for music, it was years old. Actually, it was shortly after the Beatles had played on Ed Sullivan. I just started bugging my dad for a guitar for about a year, and then he brought home one day, and that was the beginning of it. So I just started hacking through trying to pick out Beatles songs and Rolling Stone songs. That was the beginning of it. But when I was 10, my mom suggested that I try the piano. I guess my guitar playing wasn't really what she was looking for, and I started on the piano, and I've been on the piano every day since then. So that would be for the past 50, for over half a century. Let's put it that way.
Now you
And
are
I have one right in front of me right now.
oh, nice, nice. I like it. So you're a classically trained pianist through the Royal Conservatory of Music, correct?
That's correct. Michael, when it began in the early 70s, you heard this level of musicianship suddenly escalate, and a lot of classical influences were coming into rock. I remember particularly seeing Rick Wakeman, and just thinking, oh my God, he's wearing a cape and he's like a superhero, but at the same time surrounded by all these keyboards, and of course Elton John. And I was already a fan of piano players like Billy Preston and Nicky Hopkins and a number of them, but the more classical music began to be integrated into rock. So with bands like Procol Harum and obviously the early Genesis stuff and Yes and Emerson Lake and Palmer, I felt that I need to get really familiar with the classical roots that these guys have explored. And I noticed that Elton John and Rick Wakeman both went to the Royal Academy. So in Toronto, Canada, we have the Royal Conservatory, and that's the same. Anytime it says Royal, it means the Queen gave it her stamp of approval. So I
Mhm.
went through that for a number of years, and eventually emerged with a degree in classical piano, and that's been very helpful in the rock world.
That was at like age 19, though, right? You were fairly young.
Yeah, yeah. I was 19. I basically stopped. At the end of high school, I just decided I know what I have to do. Or there's
Mhm.
really no backup plan. The only thing I'm any good at is this. So I kind of pursued it really uh, vehemently, very really went at it hard. Um, I would play, 6 to 8 hours a day. I even went and got a part-time job at a piano store just so I could actually practice through the night. So it was just a lot of hours went into getting that, and it was always with the intention of being in a rock band anyway. And I remember I got my diploma from the conservatory, and the very following week was my first professional gig at a Holiday Inn just outside Toronto in Oshawa. And that has been pretty much my daily uh, endeavor ever since.
So now you mentioned that when you got your first rock and roll gig or your first gig, was that with Rheingold? Was it?
Rheingold, yes, I had a band in the late '70s called Rheingold. Very much, a progressive rock, theatrical progressive rock band that there was a phenomenal club scene in Canada then, and likely in New York and et cetera around as well, where bands could play 6 nights a week and really hone their chops as far as playing in front of a live audience every single night, and learn what it is to kind of deal with sometimes unpleasant situations and turn them into something that's really joyful. So we did that for 5 years. The record contracts that we were offered, the band never made a record, were kind of lower tier, if you want to call it that, because we were right at the era when disco was absolutely king, and then it transferred into punk, and we were neither of those two things, and so that we kind of missed the recording opportunity, but we gathered a lot of fans anyway, because as, over the long term, classic rock has proven to be a very long lasting style of music. And eventually in the 1980s, once that band broke up, I started doing solo records for Columbia Records in Canada.
You had quite a long solo run, so long solo career.
14 years as a solo artist, 6 albums, a greatest hits album. Um, Several of the album, a couple of the albums were multi-platinum. I had a platinum single. The other albums went gold, and I had really top charts in Canada. There was a great. I was managed by a fellow named Ray Daniels, who also managed Rush. So I was there for their whole for their run from Moving Pictures on. Basically, I came in after their album Moving Pictures. So 81, I came in, and it was a great career that I still enjoy to this day. I just did some solo shows just about 3 weeks ago on the break that we had from our Styx summer tour, and I have an audience that is as familiar with that material as they are with what I'm doing with Styx. It's just unfortunate that those records were never released in the United States, and therefore I missed this massive audience of this the perfect rock and roll country, the country that you kind of need in order to get international attention.
Right, right. So now let's talk about Styx. You stepped into the role of vocals and keyboards in '99, I think it was, right?
That's correct. Yep. In '97, like what happened was I hadn't opened for anyone in like 14 years at that point,
Hmm.
and but there's a legendary promoter in Canada, in Quebec, particularly named Donald K. Donald, and he was speaking to Styx management. They were on tour in '97, and said, "I would like just opened the new Montreal Forum." Okay, so people would know what that is, the big
Hmm.
hockey arena. There's a brand new one that opened in '97, and one of the first concerts in there, if not the first, I'm not positive, but was Styx, and it was in June of '97, and so he wanted me to open that show, but I was solo piano on that run. I was doing a live album, recording all these live shows I was doing, but without my band, just solo piano show. And he was okay with it. He wanted me to do that opening for Styx, and that resulted in a lot of kind of pessimism on the part of Charlie Brusco, who's Styx manager. He actually flew to Montreal to see that show, and it was kind of a Hollywood scripted night because it was the audience knew the songs and they were singing along, and there was a great kind of uh, it was a great occasion for me, and I saw the guys in Sticks side stage by the time I was finishing up my show. And when I came off stage, it was a weird thing. I met the guys, but Tommy Shaw said to me, "We got to do more of this together in the future." So when they called in 1999, my assumption was that, oh, this would be great if I get a chance to open shows for Sticks in the United States. I'm hoping that's what the call was about. But then it was a surprise, but it seemed like they were ready to make a change, and they said, we would like to know if you'd be interested in joining the band. And that's when I went down to his place, to Tommy's place. The whole band was there, and we went through some songs and just decided to start down this road. And that was 23 years ago.
I bet that was a surprise to get that phone call, though, huh?
Funny enough, I wasn't surprised to get the phone call because I thought this worked out really well, especially having a solo act open for a band. There's a
Sure.
lot of logistical there's logistic things that work well with that. I had seen, for example, back I saw an Amnesty International show where Tracy Chapman opened for Peter Gabriel and Bruce Springsteen. Tracy Chapman was alone on stage with an acoustic. It's a great way to kind of set the tone for the night. And I thought that this may be my doorway into finally having my records be heard in the U.S.
Sure.
I had just, on that intervening year, I had done a tour in Britain because I was born in Scotland. I was able to work there. I did a tour in Britain where I opened for the Stranglers for their entire UK tour. It was 28 shows. And again, it was just solo piano, just like I did with Styx. And that was really successful as well. By the end of that tour, the Stranglers guys would, I would go up on stage and play their encore just on acoustic guitar, just do something. And I really loved the feeling of kind of opening the show and then playing with the band. So I thought, well, this is a nice, this is a really cool way of bringing my music outside of Canada. And so when Styx called, as I say, that was my assumption, was that that's what we would do. But it was, it was a nice surprise when they said, we'd like you to join the band. And then I had to work through that.
That's awesome. So now, as far as recording goes with Styx, the first album you were on was Cyclorama?
Cyclorama, we made it in 2003. Yeah. Cyclorama was the first time. When I joined the band, I remember JY saying we want to play at a minimum of 100 shows a year. So that meant we were committing to being on tour almost for an entire year, two-thirds of the year. And it wasn't until we reached year number 4 that we decided, okay, time to make a studio record. We had a lot of sound, a lot of our sound checks and stuff had really neat song ideas had come up. A very creative band that we are. And so we made Cyclorama, and that came out in 2003. And that was my first one with the band.
And you were on 5. You've been on 5 albums total now, correct?
Yeah. The next one we made was a cover album called Big Bang Theory, which preceded the television show by a couple of years, by the way. But followed Einstein's Big Bang Theory by about probably 60 or 70 years. Anyway, so we did an album that was the catalyst for that, or the instigation of that was we were playing at the Crossroads Festival in Texas, where I happen to be right now. It was just outside Dallas, and the night before, I used to play I Am the Walrus, and the night before, we knew all these great blues artists are going to be there, and JY made the suggestion, hey, why don't we play I Am the Walrus? I want to do a Styx version of it, and we rehearsed it literally the night before. And the curious thing that happened was that when we played it, it went out live on the radio. And in addition to that, Billy Preston, who was playing at the show as well, he was there, and he was sitting side stage, and he was really digging it. And it was amazing to meet him. I just wanted to run off stage and shake his hand.
Right.
Which eventually I did. But we played I Am the Walrus. And then after that, we were told by the local radio station, we're getting a ton of requests to play that again. So they did. And so we wound up making a record of cover songs where we did I Am the Walrus was the opening track. And it led to kind of everyone choosing a series of songs, 1 or 2 songs that really influenced them, their writing style and their performing style. And so that was Big Bang Theory.
That's cool. I never knew that. That's an interesting fact that you guys all pulled from what made you, from what influenced you. I never knew that. I never knew that.
For example, JY wanted to do Locomotive Breath, the Jethro Tull song. Tommy wanted to do Can't Find My Way Home, the Traffic song. I wanted to do things like some of the more extreme, I'll call it extreme. It's not extreme now, but I mean, I always loved Humble Pie's version of I Don't Need No Doctor. So we did that on the album. Oh. I also loved Procol Harum's A Salty Dog. We put that on there. So I was really pleased with how that record came out and how it sounded, and that was that one. Then there really was a pretty long hiatus between us making another album. We did an album called Regeneration, where we took most of the Styx catalog and did reworked versions of them or newer versions. But really, we didn't hit the studio seriously again until 2014 when we started making the mission. And there's a number of factors involved in why that hiatus was so extended.
So now Regeneration, going back to that, that was a 2 album set. It was released
Yeah,
2010, 2011, and then the mission came out, and the latest one you guys have is Crash of the Crown. That was in
Crash of the Crown.
January.
The mission and Crash of the Crown followed each other very closely because, um, one of the major factors that came back was that the music industry was in quite a bit of disarray, or at least the recording part of it, for for a good 8 or 9 years. I'd say roughly from about 2004 on. In that, they really hadn't come to grips yet with the full implications of the internet and how that would change the whole paradigm of things. But they it seems like they've kind of gotten a new way of doing things. And around 2014, I believe it was, that Universal wanted to make a new Styx album. They had the catalog and wanted to a new record, and it just seemed like the right thing for us to do. And Tommy had been working with a fellow named Willie Vankovich. Tommy had done a solo album a couple of years prior with Will, and said, "Why don't we let Will try to produce it while we're on the road so much, playing the 100+ shows a year. We can kind of dabble in making the record and let Will work out all the logistics of it while we're on or the production things that can be long and painstaking while we're touring." So we started with that kind of notion, and then that turned into us going, "No, let's make a record exactly 70s style, classic rock style, where we're all in the studio at the same time, all working on the songs at the same time, and kind of piecing it together with analog gear, etc." And we did that at Blackbird in Nashville, and the result was, we really pretended it was 1979. We put our phones away, and we basically were eyeball to eyeball for months, and we made the mission, and it came out, and it was successful enough that immediately they said, "We'd like to get another record," and that was Crash of the Crown, which we made through the pandemic. And then when we came back to playing live, the lovely thing that happened was we were after our first week of touring again, Crash of the Crown went to #1 on Billboard's rock album chart. There's a separate category for rock now.
Yep.
And it was the quickest that a Styx album ever reached the #1 spot. So we're back to doing all of the things that Styx have been known for half a century, with making records and touring and
Sure.
rinse and repeat. Yeah.
Now you mentioned Will actually tour with you guys too, playing.
Yeah,
and stuff?
Will is now a band because we, about a year after the mission came out, there were enough people that bought the record and knew the record, and there was enough demand that we wound up doing a couple of nights in Las Vegas where they were the Styx, the mission shows, and they were separate presentations where we had great screen presentation that followed the story of the mission. It's a concept album about a space mission and space voyage. And we wound up doing that also in Boston and Washington, and right there at the Beacon Theater in New York, actually earlier this year, we did a mission show. And that really is what's great about that is the newer followers of Styx, let's call them that. I like to call them the faithful, people who are roughly under 40, who weren't even born when the biggest classic rock album were made. They like having something that as well as all of the legacy material, they like something that's concurrent with their lives. And so the mission and Crash of the Crown fit the bill there, and they seem to be the most adamant that we continue making new music and continue the tradition of the band.
For sure. So now you're coming to me today from, I'm in New York. You're in Texas right now. Currently on tour. How is the tour going so far?
Well, this is the most successful summer tour we have ever done, and that's saying a lot because we've been in the top 50 grossing acts in America for, I think, about 14 or 15 times over the course of these summer tours that we do. But this one, it's sold out every single night. It's the audiences are so over the top elated at having this back in their lives again. And you can see it on their faces, you hear it in their response, and the whole atmosphere, the emotion, it's emotionally charged is really what it comes down to. And I think people have, much like the musicians themselves, have realized just how vital a thing that a great rock concert is to their lives. It's weird, but it's it was always the greatest form of entertainment that I ever encountered myself. And I know what it feels like because the first band I saw back, once we were able to go to concerts again, it was Genesis. And I felt exactly the same way the audience, at Styx shows feel. I was just so elated at seeing this happen again and hearing what their music could do in an arena and how it could just galvanize people and make them so you get into this other realm entirely that's so removed from your day-to-day life. And yet, unlike other forms of entertainment, I'm not putting them down or anything, but there's something about the experience of a great rock show that stays with you for days and weeks and actually years. So even talking about that Genesis show, I can reflect on how every single day I can reference it in some way and think about something that was amazing that happened there and how I would love to see them again. And unfortunately, I don't know if that's ever going to happen, but who knows?
One can only hope, right? Yeah, I feel the same way because if I can still say, one of my first shows I went to was Night Ranger, and that was at the place you're going to be playing at in August. And I still to this day talk to my buddies. I'm like, hey, you remember that show back in? I'm not even going to give the date because I'll feel bad about how old I am. You remember that show way back in the day when we were there and this happened, and you can bring back memories even when a song plays. You're like, I remember seeing them at this date, and it's almost it's like live shows are like a magical experience.
They're the closest. You're absolutely right. They're the closest thing to magic that exists. There's the last show that I saw prior to the pandemic was Elton John, and it was his Farewell Yellow Brick Road tour. And I'm sitting there going like, I'm seeing the Farewell Yellow Brick Road tour. This guy's been part of my life for so long that I saw the Yellow Brick Road tour, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, which was in '73, I think it was. And I feel like this really bookends my own experience with these songs and how they've enriched my life and how important they've been to me, how they've made the whole experience of living so much greater than had I just let music slide. And quite frankly, I don't like to say this too much, but it's true. I see people that have kept music in their lives have tended to live better. Let me just put it that way. They seem to live a better existence than those that kind of let it go after high school or etc. And so they're my people. That's all I can say.
Gotta agree with you there. So now, how is it touring with like Ari Loverboy? You guys is there like on the road hijinks? Do you guys I mean, I can't wait to see the show, to be honest with you, because all three bands are.
You're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. All three bands are right at the top of their game. Loverboy sound fantastic. Unfortunately, these last 3 nights in Texas, they've had to miss because of the situation, we'll call it. Okay, but that'll be all cleared up by tomorrow. So you'll be seeing them. But they, oh my God, they're fantastic act. They get the audience so. I mean, they're beyond warmed up. They're fired up by the time that REO come on and Styx come on, and it's great. It's a great triple bill, quite frankly. That's part of the whole success of it. It's over 4 hours of classic rock where every little thing, but there's lots of little surprises that come along the way. As far as hijinks go, we indulge in less horseplay, let me put it that way, than we used to. Well, funny enough, there was a little bit in the dressing room last night that resulted in me twisting my ankle a little bit and kind of Ricky thought I might have chipped a tooth, or he might have chipped. So we're careful about those kinds of things. We keep that for the stage more or less now, because we don't mind maiming ourselves in front of the audience. It's worth something, you know. But when we do it backstage, like a bunch of junk, it doesn't have the same payoff.
Right. So last question for you. I've already taken up way too much of your time as it is, but the last question, and this one comes from my kid pretty much.
Good.
He told me, he said it's hard enough to play keyboards, one part with one hand, one part with the other hand. He said, but doesn't that guy ever get dizzy on that platform? And because it's spin around and stuff. So I have to ask you, like, do you ever spin too much to get dizzy, or?
Do I ever spin too much? Let me think about that. Hang on. Let me just know that. I'm not sure if yeah. Let me tell you the origin of that spinning keyboard. In 1990, we were talking about prior to joining Styx, I had an album called Lost Brotherhood, and the guitarist on that album is Alex Lifeson from Rush. And when Alex agreed to do the video for the title track, Lost Brotherhood, I suddenly thought, oh, I'm going to have to, because he looks so amazing playing the guitar. It's always such a cool thing when he's, I thought I need to somehow, because it's a piano guitarist song, right? I need to figure out somehow that I can have some movement in this video. So with the lighting company, we came up with this concoction, which is the spinning stand. It's a big, heavy stainless steel thing. It was not inexpensive to put together. But when we were making the video, Alex and a few of the crew people started coming over going, so is this going to be in your show now? And I had no intention of that. I was just a prop for a video. And then but as we finished it, I thought, I'm going to try this in the show. Yeah. And much to your son's curiosity, yes, I maimed myself many, many times on that thing over the years. I've gotten a little bit better at it now. But yeah, there are scars on my head, scars on my tailbone, all kinds of things, because it's heavy. And when you spin that thing and you're not paying attention, bad things can happen, usually to the audience's delight. But anyway, yeah.
So is there anything else you want to tell the folks before we head out?
I think we've touched on a lot of the important things. I'd say this, in a world with so much division right now, I would say it's been fantastic today that someone with, with blue hair and a guy with a green beard can get along so well in this world together if we just begin to
100%, man.
see ourselves as one.
That's right, 100%. Yeah. So, folks, you can catch Styx on tour with REO Speedwagon and Loverboy. Check your local venues for a date. Here locally, it's going to be August 17th in Saratoga Springs at the Saratoga Performing Arts Center. It's an outdoor venue. You guys are going to, I don't know if you remember it or not, but
I do.
It's a magical place to play. It's really cool. So for more info, you can check out the band. The website is www.styxworld.com. Lawrence, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak with you. I appreciate you taking your time to come hang out with me today. And looking forward to seeing you guys locally on the 17th. I can't wait.
Tons of fun. It's going to be great. Saratoga Springs is a fantastic venue. We're looking forward to it.
Excellent. Ladies and gentlemen, Lawrence Gowan. Thank you, Lawrence. Appreciate it.
All the best. Cheers.
Tommy Shaw, what's happening?
KC, good to see you, buddy. How are you?
Good, man. Can you believe it? I finally finished my book.
Wow, congratulations.
Right back at you, man. The new album is fantastic.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Is that Reno?
Mike? Weird. Anyway, what have you been up to?
All kinds of stuff, man. I've really been broadening my horizons. I've been working on some awesome new pyro ideas. This one looks pretty good. And I totally reimagined our set list.
Hey, KC, that's not the right cable.
Dave, I got it. Just watch.
You sure? I think you got to check the fuse box.
I'm working on an entire new lighting design. Wait a minute.
Nice.
That weird glitch is back. Doggone it, what? It is Reno.
Yeah, what's he doing?
He's obviously working.
For the
weekend. Ha! I guess he didn't like our joke.
Anyway, what have you guys been up to, man?
You know, taking advantage of the time while I've got it. I've launched an entirely new merch operation. It's been great hanging with the band. You know, no deadlines, no stress.
It's not A to R, it's A to Z.
Give me that.
This is gonna break up the band.
Maybe it's a three-legger.
What'd you call me?
You know, I'm just keeping myself sharp. Okay, I'm so tired of these video calls, aren't you?
You know, Tommy, I'm thinking this is a sign. I think it's time to get together and get back on the road.
A tour? Hell yes. Who can we take with us?
I'm thinking Loverboy.
Did I hear somebody say tour?
Reno, nice of you to join us, bro.
What's going on, man?
Same as you guys. You know, hanging around the house, keeping my chops up.
Everyone's watching to see what you do.
Check. Is this thing on? Can you hear me in the back? You ready to go? You want to rock and roll? Listen, I'm here to turn you loose. I'm working for the weekend, and I'm loving every minute of it.
Everybody's working for the weekend.
Are you ready?
Let's get
on Zoom.
Here's Rodeo Speedwagon, Team for Styx, come on!